Ian Garry just had one of the most unbearable interviews that I've listened to in quite some time as an MMA fan. Number one, he's an Israel Adesanya fanboy that cannot possibly wrap his head around the fact that Adesanya just lost to a guy that at first glance has a bit of an ugly style. He just cannot seem to admit that Sean Strickland is in any way elite. And he also talked about being a vegan. That's right, Ian Garry is now a plant-based vegan. And I'm also going to get into that part of the interview where he talks about refusing to eat steaks at Conor McGregor's Black Forge Inn pub. And guys, if you're someone that wants Ian Garry to be a champ, you're in for a rude awakening, especially now that he's gone vegan. And I'll tell you why later on in this video. Let's just get right into the interview, and I'll give you guys my take.
Did you watch Saturday night? And if so, what did you make of that result in the main event?
Yeah, I watched it, obviously. I feel like Izzy lost the fight more than Sean Strickland won the fight.
Wow, okay. This is different than our previous two guests. Please elaborate for us.
I feel like there was a certain point in that fight where I feel like Izzy was afraid to lose more than he wanted to win. That essentially meant that his efficiency, his output, his shot selection wasn't as elite as it normally is. I feel like if you run that fight back, there's no way Sean Strickland gets his hand raised again. That's my opinion.
Again, just like you guys have probably seen in Dana White's post-fight Cope Fest, Ian Garry is basically an Adesanya fanboy that just cannot wrap his head around that the guy that usually goes out there and styles on people and makes it look like he's in the Matrix, which he doesn't actually, but this is what Adesanya's fanboys have convinced themselves of over the years because they're not actually watching these fights closely. They're just buying into the hype. They just feel a certain way about Izzy. Adesanya fanboys would have you believe that every single one of his fights have been dominant. This guy's been dominating for forever. It's such a lazy, tired take, and I'm fucking fed up with hearing it. And to not give Sean Strickland any credit for his boxing defense, it's just insane. This guy saying it wasn't Sean Strickland. It was just Izzy looking like he didn't want to be there. He looked that way because he couldn't touch Sean Strickland at all, and it started to get frustrating. And he was just hitting air all night. No fucking shit, bro. Of course he was frustrated. And of course he had that look on his face that says 1,000 words, aka the first word that comes to mind is fuck. I can't touch this motherfucker. For someone that is such a high-level striker in Ian Garry, to just say Sean Strickland, he just went out there with a 1-2 and that's it, and Adesanya just didn't have good shot selection, you think a little bit of a better shot selection would have changed the results that night? Sean Strickland not only got into Adesanya's cozy little head rent-free, he schooled him because Adesanya couldn't touch his chin. Just give the guy some credit for being really good and defensively sound.
But at the end of the day, Sean Strickland got his hand raised, and I can never shoot a man for reaching his dream.
I can never shoot a man for reaching his dream. I can't shoot him. I can't put the man down for beating Adesanya and looking really fucking good and having one of the most impressive defensive displays we've ever seen in a title fight. You can't kick him in his face while he's down. I can't spit on the guy. You know, I would have loved to push him into a fucking gutter, but I can't fucking spit in his face. It wasn't that fluky. That's basically what Ian Garry's saying. Can't kick this motherfucker in the face for beating my favorite fighter, for making Izzy someone that reminds Ian Garry of himself. Ian Garry didn't like the fact that sloppy boppy Sean Strickland on the feet destroyed someone that Ian Garry knows is kind of similar to him, in a way. If you're looking at the way that they're built, at the heavy kick style, you get what I'm saying. Ian Garry doesn't like to see the Sean Strickland beat the Adesanya. He never likes to see that shit.
The truth is, Ariel, when you watch the fight back, what did Sean do that was elite?
I don't know, maybe his fucking boxing defense!
But wasn't it just like he stuck to the basics and he was just really good at what he did?
He done this for most of the fight.
Yeah.
Threw a jab and threw fuck all kicks.
And just look at his face. Look at Ian Garry's little mug right here. He sits there waiting for Ariel to give him an answer because he doesn't believe an answer exists. He's waiting for Ariel to say, I guess you're right. He didn't really do anything impressive at all. It was just Izzy, who wasn't himself. Dude, he wasn't in the Matrix that night. I don't know what happened, bro. He must have took the blue pill. I just don't understand how it's so difficult for people to just grasp that not getting hit by Adesanya, someone that's talked about as being one of the best strikers in the game, is impressive in and of itself. That is elite, all right? Adesanya is usually the one that's the really good defensive guy that has good head movement. To shut him down defensively, even better than Jan Blachowicz, is insane, especially when you're comparing him with the likes of Jan. So once again, what is so difficult for these fuckers to understand that having good defense and not getting hit is the elite shit that he showed? I genuinely think that it really just boils down to the fact that Ian Garry just cannot stand that a guy with an ugly looking style like Sean Strickland with 2 or 3 weapons max can completely nullify the epitome of what is striking in his mind. All right. And in my opinion, I didn't think that Sean Strickland was going to win, but Adesanya wasn't the epitome of striking because he's had a bunch of close fights and a bunch of L's recently. And I've always said that he's overrated. That doesn't mean Adesanya isn't a great fighter. It doesn't mean Adesanya isn't one of the best strikers in the UFC. He is. It's just that he's not numero uno. He's not the best, bro. And Sean Strickland shut this fucker down. It's defense. That's all it is, bro. It's simple. It's real simple to just say it. But again, I think that maybe it's the subconscious telling them, shit, a guy that just fucking sparring day in and day out with a hard head could beat me with a 1-2. You know, he doesn't like that shit. All right, so we got that out of the way. Now Ian Garry's going to start discussing what's going on in his mind, how he's super confident, and the type of shit he's been doing with Conor McGregor. And the reason why it's interesting is just because I am telling you right now, Ian Garry is on a one-way trip to destroying his body because he is a vegan. That's right. Ian Garry is currently a vegan. And I know that doesn't sound like whoa, who cares, bro? Nate Diaz was a vegan. Was Nate Diaz ever champion? What was the one thing maybe Nate Diaz didn't have? I don't know. His boxing, pretty decent. His jiu-jitsu, pretty decent. Was his toughness lacking or something like that? His chin? No. So what was it? It was the fact that he didn't eat meat and he was a little soy boy pipsqueak that didn't have any fucking strength and quick twitch ability because, again, he was a vegan and his hormones are all out of whack. Let's just get into this vegan shit, this vegan nonsense that I see from Ian Garry these days. Ariel Helwani is going to ask Ian Garry about his time spent with Conor McGregor.
I love the guy 10 times more than I already did because of his energy and everything that he brings. And he's a smart man. We had dinner in the Black Forge. We went and had dinner in the Black Forge.
Did you have the steak on the stone? Did you have the steak on the stone?
I'm vegan. I'm plant-based.
Okay.
I had the leek and potato soup. That was delicious. But my strength and conditioning coach did. And Connor had it in front of me and it looked good. They enjoyed it, and that's what matters. But I tell you what.
So he's at the Black Forge Inn, chilling with Connor. You know, Connor's bringing out the steaks, he's bringing out the potatoes and the butter and the bread, all these hearty foods. Ariel's been there, and Ariel knows about the big hearty meals. The Black Forge Inn is known for the big steaks, the potatoes with butter. And, of course, Ariel's like, did you have the steak on the stones? You got the steak, right?
We went and had dinner in the Black
Did you
Forge.
have the steak on the stone? Did you have the steak on the stone?
I'm vegan. I'm plant-based.
Okay.
I had the leek and potato soup.
I'm vegan. Plant-based. You know how he puts his hands up too as if like you should be guilty for being vegan, which you should feel guilty for being vegan. And there's a reason as to why there's a hint of embarrassment in his expression, in his body language. Oh, don't sue me, I'm vegan. When he says it, it's because being a vegan is pathetic, bro. What are you doing? You think our ancestors were out here fucking searching around for leeks? That's that shit that you get at the bottom of a fucking pond. That's literal fish shit. Leek stew? You know, Connor's gracious enough to welcome you into his Black Forge Inn where he has the big steaks, the buttered up potatoes, the Irish soda bread. He's got the fucking rashers and he's bringing out the black pudding. And you're out here ordering leeks? Again, dude, that's like pond scum. You think our ancestors were out here searching around for leeks at the bottom of ponds? No, bro. They were hunting for big animals that would fill them up, that would give them thousands of calories to store up on for weeks on end, for big fatty foods. They weren't fucking around looking for leeks. That's survival food. That's the type of shit that you eat when you're cast away from society 600,000 years ago and you have to fucking survive in the forest for a couple of days. That's not what you're eating when you're welcomed with open arms by the richest guy in Ireland. It's just so ridiculous. This guy is absolutely brainwashed. I'm telling you this right now, bro. I think Ian Garry may have went vegan, not just because he was tricked and bamboozled by some modern Irish guy that says that he has all the answers, that says that it's better for us to eat survival plant-based food as opposed to meat and eggs and good quality animal foods that actually give us satiation that our ancestors were craving and actually going after. They weren't eating fucking twigs and bugs and leeks at the bottom of a pond, bro. You know what it is? I guarantee you, Ian Garry, because he probably stinks all day from all the fiber that he's eating, he probably did it just to smell this fucking smell of his own farts. Honestly. Ian Garry, dude. He absolutely loves the sound of his own voice. It's the way he talks, bro. It was just instant friendship. Me and Connor eating leeks, eating stew. I know he asked me to eat the steak. I didn't want any on plant-based. Listen, dude, I'm telling you right now, Ian Garry, if you are thinking this guy's going to become a champion because he's wickedly skilled and he's extremely fast, all that speed, all that quick twitch ability, the longer this man stays on a vegan plant-based diet, the less he's going to be able to hold on to all of that, the sooner he's going to crash. And I am really being serious right now. What other MMA fighter that we've seen succeed at the highest level has been vegan? Oh, Nate Diaz, bro. Nate Diaz, 10 times champion in the UFC, bro. Yeah. The soy boy Nate Diaz, who was skilled, who was really talented, that had the toughness and the mindset. What was the one thing that Nate Diaz was probably lacking in the most? Quick twitch, explosive ability, actually having fucking gumption with his shots, actually having a fucking impact with the shit that he's throwing, and some speed, dude. That's what you're getting when you fucking eat a real diet, when you're eating real foods. And if your argument is, oh, he's not just eating veggies, he's eating sweetie little treaties from the grocery store, sweetie little treaties, chicken tasting Pop-Tarts, and the plant-based burgers. Okay, congrats. You're going to be eating seed oils. You're going to be eating soy, red 40. As long as there's no meat in there, it's healthy. Is this kind of idea? You're going to have inflammation out the wazoo. You know what I mean? Ian Garry needs to hop on a animal-based diet. He needs to switch over to meat, dairy, and fruit. And every once in a while, dude, have your potatoes, have your bread. At least they are calorically dense. At least you're actually benefiting from them. This whole idea that eating plants is going to be good for us, like, don't get me wrong. It's not going to be the end of the world if you have yourself a fucking leek soup every once in a while. But I don't know why you would want to have it, because it probably doesn't even taste that good. Plants don't provide us a lot of nutrition. They just simply don't. I'm talking about leafy plants, those greens, all the little veggies. They're not giving you shit. And they're filled with anti-nutrients that prohibit you from benefiting from the other minerals and vitamins that you're putting into your body. How did people get their calories in throughout the majority of human history? Were they grazing on grass? Were they climbing trees? Exerting fuckloads of effort just to get a couple of 100 calories in one day from eating their little leafy greens? Were they even foraging for berries? I don't think you're going to get enough calories just by eating berries alone. No, what they were doing is they would go on a hunt. They'd get themselves an animal that would be packed with like 100,000 calories that they could split amongst 10 people, and they would stuff their faces with calorically dense, fatty foods filled with protein and calories. Then, once they were full and satiated, they might want themselves a dessert. And guess what they're not going to be eating as a secondary source of food? They're not going to be going to the pond to eat the fish shit at the bottom of the pond. That's where you're getting your leeks. They were going to get their berries. They were going to get their apples. And then they were stacking up on that because it tasted so damn good. And at the end of the day, you can eat as much fruit as you want, because our ancestors, when they had an abundance of fruit, they weren't saying, oh, it's time to chill out, too much sugar. No, but there was absolutely no desire to eat plants. People didn't fucking stack up on plants at all. And that's why we actually developed our brains. It's through eating meat. It's through all the fat, that brain food, the omega-3s. That's what really gives us long, sustainable energy. If you eat fat in the morning, there's a reason why you can sustain your energy for a while. So Ian Garry is just going to get weaker. He's going to get slower. And, instead of a younger UFC fighter building into a fully prime physique, where he's going to be full and he's going to be the strongest he's ever been, have the grown man strength, Ian Garry is going to turn into a Nate Diaz part 2. So until next time.